Hi, this is Simon McDad here. I'm going to do a video tonight on what I've read referred to as to dead someone or deadening. Um, so everyone's familiar with the idea of ghosting, by now. Basically, with ghosting, when someone reaches a point where they want to ghost someone, they simply cease responding to, say, text, email, that type of thing. The end. Like, there's no effort involved. It is a seizing of effort. And the difference with, the narcissist, pattern or behavior of when they dead someone is that there's a huge amount of energy involved. And so my understanding is that typically to drive the narcissist to this point where they're exerting this much effort out of being wounded and then seeking vengeance, that typically the scenario is where there's a relationship and the target ends the relationship instead of the narcissist. And so not only does the narcissist lose their supply, they lose control of the situation and the person, but then it triggers their abandonment issues, which are very central and part of the core of the narcissist. So they get nasty, mean, vicious, and narcissists just seem to have like an infinite amount of energy when they want to do something evil. And so the example I'll give is with my ex-girlfriend, where as I showed in the graph in one of the previous videos, there was the downward slope, which after the honeymoon period or love bombing period, it started very gradually. I mean, it was very much almost basically imperceptible, except looking back at the time, knowing what I do now. And so it was a very gradual, slow descent until the last year. 2022 sucked for me with regards to, I should say the relationship sucked in 2022, where the amount of effort that my ex-girlfriend was putting into the relationship had dropped off dramatically, almost to nothing. And so through 2022, the relationship was very much where I was expending effort into it and receiving nothing, and no sense of fulfillment, no sense of fun. And from my ex-girlfriend's perspective, she was just kind of keeping me along. It's like, okay, this is stable supply. Not at that point, I cannot imagine that I was her primary source of supply, but I was it was stable. So at this point, her behavior in the relationship was just confusing, bizarre, without knowing what I do now. It was very, she was very much in the roller coaster mode, where one day she would be the happy, positive girlfriend that I knew. She'd be engaging, active. We might go to a club or go out to a restaurant or do something, and then snap, 5 days of nothing. I always refer to it as evaporating, where she would become so distant, where it was basically, for all in intensive purposes, I had a girlfriend in name only, and I had a relationship in name only. There was nothing there. And then after the 5 days, she'd come back and she'd be there. So very much this, inconsistent roller coaster, but still overall just things going down to where it was just, a really negative experience for me. I was still, in the fog. And so I was exerting this energy into the relationship, trying to get it back to where it was when it was good. And getting, no fulfillment or fun out of the relationship. And also the situation where I was the only one trying to nurture the relationship, where my ex-girlfriend at that point had just basically checked out and was, basically a bystander, just someone sitting there, just standing there, quietly watching the relationship, like it was a slow motion car crash, but not raising a finger, really doing anything about it. And so, this went on to where, the relationship was just complete garbage. And at the end of 2022, and by this I mean like the last 6 months, last 3 months, I had made a decision at that point where things were so bad. I was eyeing the exit, where I made a decision that, okay, New Year's Eve, 2023, I cannot live like this another day, let alone another year. I am going to be happy in 2023, whether that is single or, in that relationship. And so, New Year's Eve happened, which was complete garbage, surprise, surprise. And I expressed where I was at. I mean, I been pushed to the point where I had to just kind of, go there and just express to her, this, choose, you can choose either way, but I can't do this any longer. I'm going to be happy, whether I'm single or in the relationship. But if I'm going to be in the relationship, I need to see you show up. I need to see you do the work. I basically, I need things to change. And as you can imagine, she exploded, and it was really, really bad, really bad. And so the relationship ended. And the important thing to note with that is that it was not initiated by her. If anything, it caught her off guard. And two, she, was not the one who had control over the situation. And so it very much, triggered those, fears and issues that I had mentioned, where, there was the loss of control, loss of her, stable supply, loss of her boyfriend, loss of, being in the relationship to the extent that, she was. I mean, again, it was just kind of almost like a comfort, and it triggered that abandonment because she had not been the one that initiated things. And so, as you can imagine, that's about the worst circumstances a narcissist can find themselves in, is where their target is like, no, I'm exiting. And it's not, and it catches them off guard, and they're not the ones running the show at that point. So, and as you can imagine, with a narcissist, all that discomfort and pain is not processed or acknowledged. It's immediately converted into fury and anger and vengeance. And that happened in the blink of an eye. I mean, it was very strange. And so where the term, comes where a narcissist will dead someone, is that instead of simply, deciding, oh, okay, the relationship's over, I'm not going to put any more effort into it, or, responding or anything like that. That would be ghosting. Whereas to dead someone is to put all this energy in, where the goal is to inflict as much pain in the target as possible, and to do that through, I would say, like, negation. And so, for example, when the narcissist deads someone, it's not that they're ceasing to interact with them and then going on with their life. The narcissist tries to erase you. And so, because they can't literally do that, they will do it through other means, such as, say, social media, their home, and other ways that I'll get to. But so, for instance, with my ex-girlfriend, she would take all of the, like, say, photos, knickknacks, items that she maybe bought with me, and literally put them in a pile and smash them to pieces. I don't know if she used a hammer, but I think she did. And it would also be, items that reminded her of me. So there might be items which, I'd also given her as a gift, that she would either smash to pieces or throw away. And basically went through her house, took down all, destroyed all the things that I gave her, that she had, that reminded her of me, items that maybe we got together, during those 4 years. But basically make an attempt to erase me from existence, to the extent that she can. And also on social media, where it would not be simply, say, taking down photos of me, but taking down photos of me, taking down photos of us. And this is where it gets so crazy. It goes into, like, narcissist la la land. She took down all the photos of the past 4 years. She wants to erase the past 4 years. That's how intense she is on, this process of, to dead me. So it's kind of goes hand in hand with the smear campaign to a large extent, in that it's happening, simultaneously. But it's notable to me because it's exerting an incredible amount of energy. And again, ghosting, you're just like, oh, I'm not going to exert any more energy. I'm going to move on with my life. Whereas when the narcissist deads you, they're spending all this energy. And as you can tell, you're in their mind. You're in their head. Like, you could be doing your thing, doing yoga, doing therapy, running, exercising, writing that novel, doing something like that. And they're focused on you. And they're just doing it in this really weird, negative way. And for me personally, I found it bizarre because I guess I'm just wired differently. So with my ex-wife, she went through the midlife crisis, and then went into this new personality that was a narcissist. Um, but I have photos of my ex-wife from 10 or more years ago. And for me, it's like, okay, that was a very wonderful time in my life. The marriage was great at that time, and that particular photo or photos, those are good memories. Um, why should I throw them away? Or why in the hell would I smash them with a hammer? It doesn't hurt her directly or anything like that. And if anything, it's like I'm trying to get rid of those good memories that I have. So, for me, with like, my ex girlfriend, not that it matters one way or the other, but just, my type of, personality, I just had her photos up for like a week or two, and then was like, you know, there's there's no point in having them up right now, and I just took them down, replaced them. The end. Did barely thought about it, but I didn't put them in a pile and smash them with a hammer or anything like that. And again, for those saying like, oh well, how do you know that? Because she literally went on social media and showed herself smashing all of the photos of me and of the two of us. Again, who does that? A narcissist. Crazy. And so the for me personally, where it starts to get weird is that the my ex-girlfriend and her attempt or behavior of working to dead me started crossing some interesting lines. One of them was that, as I may have implied, previously, the incident around the breakup was bad enough that I had to involve law enforcement, and so there's that whole thing. And if you've ever dealt with like the legal system, there are some requirements it's part of the legal system. And so one of sometimes I would contact her for specific information that I needed as part of the legal process as we move through it, and she wouldn't answer me. There would be no response, no response from her lawyer, no response, period. And it's just again, that's one of those things, and I've heard other people talk about this, where when the narcissist crosses that line where they're like, okay, I'm going full nutso here, that they don't see laws as applying to them. They just do what they want to do, and they don't really think, they don't consider what the laws are. I mean, in their mind, when they're in that mode, the laws are for other people, not for them. And so again, like, the reason I bring it up is because it just shows the extent that my ex-girlfriend's willing to go in part of her behavior of working to dead me in her mind. Very very strange. My ex-wife did very much the same, but it was with my ex-girlfriend it was instantaneous, very bizarre. With my ex-wife, it was more gradual, and it was more of just a kind of a game. Just I'm feeling mean today, type of thing. So I'm gonna get some stabs in. Where um, she would start, limiting the modes of contact. So none. So for instance, she would say, "I'm only going to converse through email." Okay, and so, I would send her, and say her lawyer, an email, and then she would come back and say, no, don't send me emails. I only will respond to text. It's like, okay, crazy lady. And so I send her a text, and then she would respond and say, how dare you, don't ever send me a text. Only communicate to me through talking parents, which is one of those, like, post divorce chat applications. And then I would do that, and then she would say, okay, you can only speak to me regarding issues with the children in this program. If there are issues that are financial with the house, with legal issues, excuse me, you need to keep those separate, and you need to send those to me in email. Okay, crazy lady. It's like, all the narcissists are reading from the same playbook. So this is kind of a game for her, but as time went on, instead of coming, um, communicating the alternative form, she would just say, "I'm not, do not talk to me on text. I'm not going to respond to text." Okay. Then it became, "Do not, talk to me via email. I'm not going to communicate via email." Okay. Then it was, "Do not contact me, or communicate with me via talking parents. I'm not going to respond to that." Which again is like, you're kind of legally required to, because this is in regard to the the custody of the children. And so again, she would just, at that point, she was doing like the dead thing, where she would not respond to communications that she was basically, legally required to respond to. Same thing if I sent, specific emails regarding legal issues around, like, finances or alimony or something like that. Nothing. And so it was, very much a game, but it was also just kind of showing the extent to which they would go, where they would just ignore the law at that point. And, and speaking with other people, they said, "Oh, well, you can take her to court for that." And, as anyone who's worked with the court system, no, you don't want to waste your time in court over small things, because one, it's time consuming, it's expensive, and there are situations where the judge will simply throw it out, because they're like, "Okay, we're dealing with, like, cases of violent crime, and you're, clogging up the court system with an ex-wife that's not responding to your email. Get get the hell out of my courtroom." And so, I'd been there, so I knew at that point that, again, it was part of the game, where, my ex-wife was like, "I hope he does do that. I would love it for him to take me to court over this." So, again, just, part of a game, but also just kind of the deadening, where there would not even be a response to things like, say, alimony, child support, things that benefit her, but she wouldn't want to respond. And so it's like, okay, um, you know, this is something that would help you financially, but instead you're choosing to play this, game of trying to, dead me. So, anyways, I hope that this has been helpful, and I'm curious to hear if anyone else has had experiences with their narcissist, and working to dead them. And also, if there's a different phrase for that, again, it is not ghosting, because ghosting is it's a decrease or just ceasing effort in communication. Whereas when a narcissist goes to dead someone, there's a huge amount of energy and effort put into that. So